And it's Ken Kraetzer for Canvas Media. Denver, the Army Black Knights pull off a 23-3 win over the Air Force Falcons, who came into the game number 17th ranked in the country. Army was reeling off of 5 straight losses, but really came to play. Army got off to a great start in the game behind Bryson Daly, getting a 62-yard run for a touchdown on the first drive of the game. Bryson went on to have 2 touchdowns on the game, 170 yards rushing against a team whose rushing defense was one of the best in the country. And Army defense made a big play right after that to stop a 4th and 1 for Air Force on their Air Force 34-yard line. And Quinn Morensky followed with the first of his 3 field goals. So Army's out to a 10-0 lead. And then Air Force has the first of 6 turnovers to Army. Their quarterback, Zach Lerner, fumbled, and Leo Lowen, who had 12 tackles in the game, made the recovery and gave the ball back to Bryson Daly, who scored on a 5-yard run. And then what happens again? Brett Jarena forces a fumble, recovered by Jimmy Charlo, and leads to Quinn Morensky 40-yard field goal. So Army's up 13-0. And actually, no, excuse me. Quinn Morensky got the field goal and made it 10-0. And after the Army defense had stopped the drive on 4th and 1, and then Air Force on their next drive set the fumble by Zach Lerner. Leo Lowen covers that, setting up Bryson Daly for a 5-yard touchdown run. Then Brett Jarena forces a fumble recovered by Jimmy Charlo. That leads to Quinn Morensky's second field goal of the day, that of 40 yards. And then at the very end of the first half, Air Force had a chance to score, but Bo Nicholas Paul gets an interception and leads to a Quinn Morensky 8-yard field goal to end the first half, with Army leading 23-3, which actually turned out to be the final score. Second half, Army got called on a bunch of penalties that hurt. There's a chop block call, and but Quinn Morensky had a sack, and that really led to backing up Air Force from a chip shot field goal attempt to about a 30-yard field goal, which ended up missing. So it stayed 23-3, and big stopped actually on Quinn Daly by Bryson Daly, by Alec Mock of Air Force, and then another fumble recovery by Army, forced by Leo Lowen, recovered by Jack Latour, and then another interception by Bo Nicholas Paul when it was all over. And great to see Andre Miller get a fumble recovery. Andre, was injured up at Syracuse, scared us all, but turned out to be okay and back playing. That's good to see. On some of the stats, Bryson Daly, 174 yards on 36 attempts, 2 touchdowns, averaged 4.7. Kanye Udo had 9 rushes for 37, but pretty much it was the Bryson Daly show. And boy, did he do it passing, 4 of 9 for 40 yards. Receiving, Tyrell Robinson had 1 for 23. Olawole had 2 catches for 11, and Casey Reynolds had 1 for 7. But the Cooper Allen punting, good punting day for Cooper. Averaged 39 yards on 6 punts. And Quinn Morensky really made a big difference in the game, making 3 field goals of 45, 40, and 38. So Army on rushing, 213 yards, held Air Force to 155. Their average had been close to 300. And then passing 40 yards, 104 for Air Force. So total offense, surprisingly, Air Force outgained Army 259 to 253. A lot of that in the second half. And but the difference were the turnovers. Air Force had 5 fumbles, losing 4 of those, and just time of possession. I have to get that one for you. Time of possession 32 minutes for Army. A lot of that was based on dominating in the first quarter. Sacks, Army had 2 sacks for 15 yards, no sacks for Air Force. Army really didn't try to pass the ball. It was more like the old-fashioned style. But defensive stats, Leo Lowen had 9 solo tackles and 3 assists for 12, and 2 tackles for loss. And we talked about 2 forced fumbles. Quinn Hammonds had 6 tackles on the day, 1 sack. Leo Lowen also had a sack for Army. Bo Nicholas Paul, 2 interceptions, and he had 5 tackles. Boston Hill, 5 tackles. Caleb Fortner, another strong game with 5 tackles. So Army now plays for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy in December at Foxborough against Navy, and a chance to have really achieve one of their goals. One of their goals every year is to win the Commander-in-Chief Trophy. I don't think a bowl game is possible now, but if they can win the Commander-in-Chief Trophy, it's the only, as I tell people, there's only 2 ways you get to the White House from college football, and you either win the national championship or you win the Commander-in-Chief Trophy. Always coveted. And Army now makes that Army-Navy game for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy. We'll build it up even more. Everybody's looking forward in New England, I know, to being up for having the game there. So it's going to be even more exciting having that championship, as Coach Munkin said today, at stake. And I know Navy's going to covet that opportunity just as much. But really a huge win for Army here at the NFL Stadium of the Denver Broncos in Power Field at Mile High. We all grew up watching football games being played here by the Broncos, and at the old stadium, which was just north of here, across the street. And we all remember a lot of games where Air Force would dominate Army early last decade, and now to see Army win 3 of the last 4. Everybody's looking. I got my Commander-in-Chief Trophy ring from 2020 from when they beat Air Force at Mikey Stadium after beating Navy the week before. So just another testament to the accomplishments of Coach Jeff Munkin getting this team ready to play. And that's one will be remembered for a long time. So anyway, heading back tomorrow. And I got to say thank you to everybody. Had terrible tragedy in my life. My wife was lost in a car accident 2 weeks ago. And the amount of support has been overwhelming from everybody associated with Army football and the Academy. So I just got to thank everybody from the Superintendent, General Gillen, on down about their support during an extraordinarily tough time. But I'll tell you, it's therapeutic for me to be out here with the team yesterday at practice and be out here covering them on the game. These are all my friends. I call the players my nephews. That's how I think of them. And so good to be part of Army football. So thank you to everybody out there, and appreciate your support. It's going to be going to need the support over time, I tell you. But thank you. Anyway, from Denver, 23-3, an Army win over Air Force. Big win, and the Navy game is going to be for the Commander-in-Chief Trophy in December. That's going to be quite a day. We're all going to look forward to it. So this is Ken Kraetzer from our Cam Vets Media. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military veterans proudly since 2008. And thank you again very much, really from the bottom of my heart, for all the support over the last 2 weeks from everybody. Take care. We'll see you at Mikey Stadium next week.